Have you ever thought you knew someone, only to find out you didn't? What if that person wasn't even real? It started with something small, an odd message that pinged on my phone one chilly evening at 2:42 a.m. The notification was simple. You were there. I saw you there. I opened it, expecting to see a text from one of my friends, but the sender was listed as unknown. The message didn't make any sense. I scrolled down to see if there were any clues, but there was nothing. Just those cryptic words staring back at me. That was the night everything changed. The next morning, I tried to brush it off as a glitch or some late-night prank, but things didn't stop there. Later that week, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years, my old childhood friend, Claire. The thing is, Claire died 3 years ago. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe it was just someone who looked like her. But the more we talked, the more uncomfortable I felt. She knew things about my life, about my childhood, that no one else knew. She even mentioned that we used to do this all the time, a game we play where we would sneak around the neighborhood at night, daring each other to enter the old abandoned house on the corner. Claire had been obsessed with that house, but I could never get close to it. Not after after what happened. I smiled and nodded, but deep down, something was gnawing at me. Something felt wrong. After our conversation, I rushed home, trying to push the encounter out of my mind. But that night, I received another message, this time from the same mysterious sender. You're not safe. The words hit me like a slap across the face. What does that mean? I asked myself. I locked the door and turned off my phone, trying to push the unease away. But the words lingered, repeating in my mind, gnawing at me. The next few days were a blur. Strange things kept happening around me. I noticed shadows out of the corner of my eye that weren't there. Whispers at night when no one else was awake. I even found a note in my mailbox one morning, scribbled in a handwriting I didn't recognize. It read, I know what you did. You can't escape it. What'd I do? The feeling of dread grew, and it was all I could think about. Who was sending these messages? And why was this happening to me? I tried to get some answers. I contacted Claire's family, but they insisted she'd passed away years ago. The funeral, the obituary, everything checked out. But if Claire was really dead, then who had I met that night? And why did she seem so real? The mystery began to consume me. I went back to the abandoned house, the one Claire and I used to sneak into when we were kids. It was a wreck, broken windows, peeling paint, and the stench of decay filling the air. The place always gave me the chills, but that night, something felt different. I could feel it in my bones. The house wasn't empty. As I stepped through the creaky front door, a cold draft brushed against my skin. My heart hammered in my chest as I walked through the darkened halls. The floorboards creaked under my weight. And then, from the shadows, I heard something. A voice, faint and distant, yet eerily familiar. You shouldn't be here. My breath caught in my throat. My mind raced. It's her. It's Claire. She's here with me. I spun around, but there was nothing. The house was empty. I couldn't leave. The feeling of something watching me was too overwhelming. I felt like I was on the edge of something I couldn't understand, something I couldn't see. Then I heard it again, closer this time. You were always meant to be here. I froze, my heart pounding. I didn't know what to do. Every instinct in my body screamed for me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. It was as if I were trapped in a nightmare. And that's when I noticed it. The dust-covered mirror in the corner of the room. It was the only thing that wasn't decaying. I moved closer, my reflection in the mirror only slightly visible at first. But as I drew nearer, something was off. My face, the one staring back at me, was wrong. It was a reflection, yes, but it wasn't me. The eyes, hollow and lifeless, stared back at me. What was happening? Suddenly, a flash of light illuminated the mirror, and I was no longer standing alone. Someone else was there, right behind me. The reflection in the mirror wasn't just mine anymore. It was Claire's. I turned, but again, there was nothing. No one behind me. Just a dim, empty room. But when I looked back at the mirror, the face of Claire was still there, staring at me with an expression of utter despair. I stumbled back, gasping for breath. It couldn't be real. It couldn't be happening. Then, in the mirror, the reflection whispered something I couldn't understand. The words sent a chill down my spine. I turned to run, but before I could make it to the door, everything went black. I woke up in the middle of the street, gasping for air. The cold night, air hit my lungs like ice. I looked around, disoriented, trying to figure out how I'd gotten there. But everything felt wrong. That was when I saw it. A figure standing in the distance, half hidden in the shadows. It was her, Claire. I don't know how I got to that place. I don't know how much of it was real. But I do know one thing for sure. I'm not the only one here. And I'm not sure I ever left. I wanted to run, to turn and never look back, but my legs felt like lead. The figure in the shadows, Claire, or who I thought was Claire, wasn't moving. She just stood there, as if waiting for me to make the first move. But something about her presence was wrong. It felt suffocating, as if the air itself was thickening with every passing second. I took a step forward, and then another. Each footfall echoed loudly in the night, like a drumbeat to my inevitable fate. When I was close enough, she finally spoke. Her voice was a whisper, barely audible in the heavy silence. "You finally came back. I've been waiting for you." My heart stopped. I opened my mouth to say something, but no words came. The air was too thick, and her words had a weight to them, like they were carved into my very soul. I looked at her face, and for a moment, I almost couldn't recognize her. Her eyes weren't the same. They were darker, deep, abyssal black, like pools of ink. Her skin, pale and unnaturally still, had an almost translucent quality. I had to look away before I lost myself in her gaze. "Claire, what is this? What do you want from me?" I finally managed to choke out. She didn't answer right away. Instead, her head tilted slightly, a gesture that was disturbingly human, yet utterly inhuman at the same time. It reminded me of something I couldn't quite place. "Don't you remember?" she asked. Her voice was soft, but the underlying tension made it feel like the earth beneath my feet was about to collapse. I shook my head, confused. "Remember what?" She stepped closer, and I felt the temperature drop. The cold was seeping into my bones, making every movement harder. "You think this is just a game, don't you? That we can just play pretend, like we did as children? But I'm not the same person you remember." My mind was racing. I was trapped in a nightmare, a reality I couldn't understand. Was this really Claire? The girl I grew up with, the one who died all those years ago? Suddenly, a memory flashed in my mind, a memory I had buried deep down. It was of a night, much like this one, when Claire and I had snuck into the house. But that night, it wasn't like the others. That night, something watched us from the shadows. Something followed us, and I remember very clearly that we promised each other we would never speak of it again. But now, standing face to face with this thing that had once been Claire, I realized that promise had been broken long ago. Her face twisted into a grin, and it was nothing like the playful, innocent grin I remembered. It was cold, predatory, as if she was savoring every moment of my fear. "You don't remember, do you? The night you saw it? The thing we disturbed? The thing that followed us, waiting to take us both? It didn't just want me. It wanted you too." I felt a wave of nausea rise in my stomach. This couldn't be happening. This had to be a dream. But every nerve in my body screamed that it wasn't. Suddenly, she took a step closer, so close that I could feel her cold breath against my skin. "It's too late now. You should have left when you had a chance." Before I could react, she grabbed my wrist, her fingers like ice. The sensation was sharp, burning. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I couldn't pull away. It was as if her grip had frozen me in place, holding me in a vice that no strength could break. I tried to look away, but she forced me to meet her eyes. The world around us blurred, and I felt as though I was being pulled into the very core of her gaze, into something dark, something ancient. "You'll never leave," she whispered. "You belong to it now." Suddenly, everything went silent. The air thickened with an eerie calm, and I felt the pressure in my chest rise, as if the weight of the world was pressing down on me. I tried to pull away, but I couldn't. I was trapped in her gaze, in her world, and I had no idea how to escape. Then, in the silence, I heard a soft whisper again, this time not from Claire but from behind me. "Don't trust her." I whipped around, but there was nothing there. The street was empty, just as it had been when I first arrived. But the voice wasn't mine, and it wasn't Claire's. It was someone else's. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice trembling. But there was no answer, only the weight of Claire's icy stare, and a growing sense of something unseen, but very real, just beyond the shadows. Claire's lips curled into a wicked smile, and for the first time, I felt the true depth of her coldness. It doesn't matter now. You're here, and you'll never leave. It's already begun. I backed away, stumbling over my feet. Something was wrong. The night felt heavier, suffocating. I turned to run, but as I did, I felt a sudden pull, like an invisible force was yanking me back into the depths of the shadows. The ground beneath me cracked, and I fell. A sharp pain shot through my ankle as I hit the cold pavement. The world spun around me, and I couldn't get back up. It felt like the darkness itself was consuming me, pulling me under. And then, just before everything went black, I heard again, this time, unmistakable, a voice. You shouldn't have come back. I woke up in a place that didn't feel real. The air was too thick, the silence too suffocating. I tried to move, but my body refused to obey. My head was pounding, my thoughts a jumbled mess. The last thing I remembered was falling, but now I was lying on a cold, stone floor in a room that felt far too old for comfort. The walls were covered in peeling wallpaper, yellowed with age, and the room smelled faintly of mildew. A single light bulb hung from the ceiling, its weak glow casting long shadows across the floor. I tried to push myself up, but my limbs felt heavy, like they were being weighed down by the very air itself. Where am I? I muttered, my voice hoarse. Then I heard it, a faint sound, like soft footsteps approaching from the darkness. My heart raced as the sound grew closer, the anticipation eating at my insides. Was it Claire, or was it something worse? Stop! A voice called out. It wasn't Claire's. This voice was male, deep, and it echoed around the room like a whisper in a cavern. I froze. There was something unnerving about the voice, something chilling. And then, through the dim light, I saw him. A man, standing at the far end of the room. His features were obscured by shadow, but I could feel his eyes on me, piercing, watching, calculating. His presence seemed to fill the room, making it feel even colder. Who are you? I asked, my throat tight with fear. The man didn't respond immediately. Instead, he took a slow step forward, his boots scraping against the floor. As he came closer, the shadows seemed to part, and I could finally see him clearly. He was tall, with a gaunt face and hollow eyes, his skin pale and stretched too tightly across his bones. There was something wrong about him. His appearance wasn't just unsettling, it was unnatural. It was like looking at something that shouldn't exist, something that didn't belong in this world. You don't remember, do you? He asked softly, his voice sending a cold shiver down my spine. I shook my head. What are you talking about? He took another step, and now I could see the faint outline of something in his hand. It was a photograph, old and crumpled, like it had been pulled from a drawer long ago and forgotten. He held it out to me, and I reached for it instinctively. My hands trembled as I took it, but when I looked at the picture, my stomach dropped. It was a photo of me, sitting on the floor of my childhood home. In the background, standing just behind me, was a figure I didn't recognize. It was Claire, but it wasn't the Claire I knew. Her eyes were hollow, like the man's, and she wore a twisted smile that didn't belong on her face. But what was worse was the date written on the bottom of the photo. 1999. I couldn't breathe. I had no memory of this photo, no recollection of that day. My mind raced, trying to piece together what this meant. The man saw my confusion and smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the kind of smile that someone gives when they've already won. You think this is all a coincidence? He asked, his voice low and menacing. That your sister's death, your memories, your life were just accidents? No, they were all part of a plan, a trap. I tried to back away, but my body refused to move. The photo was burning a hole in my hands, the image too real, too chilling to ignore. You don't remember, the man continued, his eyes narrowing. But you've been here before. Every time you come back, it happens all over again. Every cycle, every year. You think Claire's death was the end? It was just the beginning. Your family has been tangled in this for generations. A wave of nausea hit me. My head was spinning. What were you talking about? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out another photograph. This one even older than the first. It was a picture of my grandparents, standing on the same steps where Claire and I used to play. But in the background, just like the first photo, there was a shadowy figure, barely visible but unmistakable in its presence. "You think it's just a family curse," the man said, as if reading my thoughts. "But it's more than that. Your bloodline has been a key to something much darker. Something that has been waiting for the right time to return. You've been feeding it your entire life." I tried to process what he was saying, but my thoughts were jumbled. It felt like everything I knew was crumbling around me. Could it be true? Had everything, every event, every memory, been orchestrated by forces beyond my comprehension? "Claire's death," the man continued, "was just the first sacrifice. And you're the next." Before I could react, the temperature in the room dropped further, and I felt the presence of something watching. I wasn't alone in this room anymore. It was as if the walls themselves were closing in, suffocating me. "No," I whispered, panic rising in my chest. The man's face twisted into a smile, and then, for the first time, I saw the truth. His eyes weren't just hollow. They were black, void-like, reflecting nothing but darkness. "You should have stayed away," he said softly, as the room began to spin. And in that moment, I realized there was no escape. The trap had been set long before I ever came back. The walls closed in, and everything went black.